Today, we are diving into the incredible history of South Africa's northern mountain kingdoms. And we're going to uncover three totally different kinds of power. One built on a sacred hill, another forged by a warrior king who refused to back down, and a third held by a mystical queen who could literally command the weather. Okay, let's get into it.
So this is the big question we're tackling today, and it really gets to the heart of how nations are made, you know? We're about to see how wealth, warfare, and pure spiritual authority didn't just build kingdoms. They created these powerful legacies that you can still feel today. Let's start right at the beginning, with Southern Africa's very first indigenous state.
So, welcome to Mapungubwe. This place pops up around 900 CE, and it wasn't just a bunch of villages. No, this was a super sophisticated, class-based society. It really laid the foundation for centuries of civilization in the area, including, you guessed it, the famous Great Zimbabwe.
Mapungubwe's whole story really plays out over about 400 years, but the key moment, the real game changer, happens in 1220. This is when the leaders literally move up in the world. They physically separated themselves from everyone else, creating a brand new social order that was just revolutionary for its time. But by 1300, it's all over. The kingdom declines, and the site is abandoned, probably because the climate changed, making the land less fertile, or maybe the global trade routes that were its lifeblood just shifted.
And that brings us to this crucial idea of sacred leadership. See, this wasn't just about a king being powerful, it was about the king being seen as divine. His right to rule came from the gods, and that belief was made real by physical space, by living high on a hill, literally above everyone else, closer to the heavens.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. You've got the rulers up on the sacred hill controlling all the wealth, all the trade, and getting these incredibly lavish burials with amazing gold artifacts. And then, down below on the plains, you have the commoners. They're the ones farming the land and supporting the entire state. It was a world of two completely distinct tiers.
So, what was fueling all this? Global trade. Mapungubwe was a massive commercial hub. They were exporting high-value goods like gold and ivory, connecting the deep interior of southern Africa to the bustling trade routes of the Indian Ocean. And in return, they're importing luxury items. We're talking glass beads and Chinese pottery. It's proof of a seriously sophisticated and far-reaching network.
These incredible gold pieces from Mapungubwe, including the super-famous golden rhinoceros, are now cared for at the University of Pretoria Museum. But these artifacts, which were found in royal graves, are so much more than just pretty objects. They are powerful, potent symbols of the king's sacred power and his absolute control over the kingdom's incredible wealth.
All right, so after Mapungubwe's time was over, a power vacuum opened up and, other kingdoms rose to fill it. One of them was the Venda, who set up their power base in the South Punsberg Mountains. Now, their story isn't one of trade. It's about fierce, hardcore military resistance against colonial expansion. A totally different kind of power.
And right at the heart of that resistance was King Makhado. This guy was so formidable, so successful at defending Venda sovereignty, that he earned the nickname Lion of the North. And for decades, he managed to hold off the encroaching Boer republics.
Makhado's strategy was pretty simple. Absolute defiance. He, and later his son Mpefu, just systematically rejected every single attempt by the Boers to impose their authority. No taxes, no land surveys on their territory, no fake borders. They were making it crystal clear, Venda land was Venda land, period.
Well, a policy of defiance like that is bound to lead to conflict, right? After Makhado's death, his son Mpefu kept up the resistance, pushing an already tense situation with the Boer Republic right to the breaking point. This all boiled over into the War of 1898.
And you can just see how quickly things escalated. Mpefu's rejection of Boer authority was direct, it was unwavering. When surveyors were sent to mark out his land, they were chased off. An ultimatum was issued. Mpefu ignored it. The final step was, inevitably, war.
Now, to give you a sense of what the Venda were up against, just look at this number. The Boer Republic sent a force of 4,500 men. That was a massive army for the time and place. And its goal was to crush Mpefu's resistance once and for all.
The Venda fought like lions from their mountain strongholds, but in the end, they were just outmatched by modern artillery. After 2 days of relentless cannon fire, King Mpefu had no choice but to flee into exile across the Limpopo River. And just like that, the war was over, and with it, a whole era of Venda independence came to a very dramatic end. Okay, so let's completely shift gears now. We're moving from the power of the sword to something else entirely. Just south of the Venda lived the Balobedu people, And their leaders held a kind of power that wasn't military or economic at all. It was mystical. It's time to meet the Rain Queens.
This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures what the Rain Queen's authority was all about. Her influence didn't come from armies or from making laws. It came from her ability to connect with the spiritual world and control the one resource that mattered more than anything else to her people: rain.
So who is the Rain Queen? She's the hereditary leader of the Balobedu, and she inherits her title and her incredible powers through the female line. Her main job isn't political, it's spiritual. She is the ultimate rainmaker, and that skill gave her immense power. She could bring prosperity to her friends, and she could bring devastating drought to her enemies.
This matriarchal dynasty is just so unique. Power passes from mother to daughter. The queen herself stays out of day-to-day politics, focusing instead on those vital annual rainmaking ceremonies. And her mystical reputation was so strong that other kingdoms, even really powerful ones, often chose to pay her tribute and seek her favor through diplomacy, rather than risk going to war and facing a certain ruinous drought.
So let's just put it all together. When you look at them side by side, the contrast is, well, it's stark. On one side, you have the Venda kings, power passed from father to son, rooted in military might, with a legacy of armed resistance. On the other side, the Balobedu Rain Queens, power passed from mother to daughter, flowing from spiritual abilities, with a legacy built on diplomacy and peace. Two completely different ways to lead, right in the same region.
And that brings us to our final question, one that really gets to the heart of everything we've looked at. We've seen the power of gold that can build a state, the power of a sword that can defend it, and the power of faith that can sustain it. So which one is truly stronger in the end? What really endures? That's something to think about.